I spend probably 70% of my time on AI related things these days. My theory is that not just law firms, the ones that will win are AI native. You could probably be in the top 10% in a weekend. You could definitely be in the top 1% in a month. AI will not replace you, but someone who knows how to use AI will. So get on board.
All right, I got my good friend Derek Martin here today. Derek is a very forward-thinking attorney in the Chicago area. Derek runs a law firm on Salesforce, both in criminal defense and in personal injury. Derek, do you want to introduce yourself to our listeners and why today's episode you think is going to be important for them?
Sure, man. Thanks for inviting me. Yep, we're in Chicago, Chicago guy, born and raised, running about a 35 or 40 person law firm here. Have been for about 10 years. Actually, we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary, which is fun.
Congrats.
And thanks, yeah. And so it's fun. I love it. I love being a lawyer. I do, but I really love being a business owner. I love being a business owner that happens to own a law firm, and so that's kind of how I think of myself these days. And I think more lawyers need to do that. I think more business owners need to do that.
So, why don't we start there? What is the difference in your mind between running a business and running a law firm?
Yeah. So really, I think that a law firm is should be ran like any other business. I say like I would probably do the same stuff if I was running a plumbing company or you name it, right? A different professional services, a accountant firm, whatever. I, I think that we get in trouble, lawyers, we get in trouble when we think that we're like special. Like, I get it. We've got the licensing. We do solve a lot of problems for people that other people can't do. Um, but at the end of the day, you got to make money doing it, or else you're not really in business for all that long, right? So you really got to blend as being an excellent lawyer, the ethics that comes with it, the responsibility that comes with actually making money.
Yeah, it's I feel like I sometimes talk to people about you're either in the business or you're on the business.
Yeah.
I feel like lawyers kind of view themselves as more artists than they
Yes.
do more business people, and there are definitely amazing lawyer artists out there who are your best trial lawyers and your best, heavy hitters that you bring in on that, $10 100 million case that you want to
Yep.
try. I think it's safe to say, Derek, you and I are not that person, and that's okay.
Right. That is, that's true. But here, if you are that trial lawyer with the, $100 million verdict or whatever, and you want more of those, so I agree. You are best in the courtroom doing that. Like that is the highest and best use for you. So if you have built a business that runs well, that means you are not coming home, after picking a jury and trying to update your freaking QuickBooks or run the next ad or manage some admin who, took 3 days off in a row and, no call, no show, right? Like if you have built a actual business, then you can spend more time doing whatever is your highest and best use. Maybe it's marketing, maybe it's intake, maybe it's setting the vision for people, maybe it's being that trial lawyer. Then whatever, that's up to you. You go do that.
So why don't we dig in a little bit? Tell us a little bit about your firm. Tell us, the kind of practice areas you work on, maybe the backbone on the case management system you work on.
Yeah.
I'll let you kind of spill the beans.
Yeah, for sure. So, traffic and DUI is what we started off in 10 years ago. And we do a ton of traffic tickets and DUIs in the Chicagoland area. No one's keeping stats on this, but I don't know that anyone does more than us. And I just say that just for context. Like we do a lot of traffic in DUI. And my buddies, like Ethan and others, have said over the years, Derek, why are you doing $500 DUIs and $500 traffic tickets and $5,000 DUIs when you could be doing what is really an adjacent, I mean, same customer, right? A driver who gets in an accident. Why aren't you doing PI, specifically motor vehicle accidents? It's perfectly aligned with what you do. And so they were right. And so a year and some change ago, we spun up a new practice area within our firm. We are now the law firm for drivers. So if you are ticketed, arrested, or injured while driving in Chicagoland, we are your law firm. So we've got a whole personal injury department with staff and dedicated to that, and we're we're handling a fair number of motor vehicle accidents these days.
Nice.
Yeah.
And, myself included, the grass is always greener
Yeah.
because, the cash flow, I'm sure you're learning both the good and the bad of, the cash flow constraints of personal
Yes.
injury. The criminal defense practice area pays up front, which is pretty nice.
Yes.
Um, Personal injury, it certainly does not.
Yes.
So what have been some challenges as you've adapted to this new practice area?
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it that blending those two ideally gets you the best of both worlds, right? And that's the idea. That's from a pure business standpoint. I think that's an advantage I have, and I'm trying to lean into that. I talked to you and a bunch of other people about what an entry into personal injury looks like in the Chicagoland market. I got some really good advice. I would say it still was more expensive than I thought, right? It's just the way it goes. I mean, wouldn't you be shocked if I was not saying that, right? Like it is expensive to acquire cases to, of course I've got the staff and, the timeline's never as quick as you want. You hear of firms sort of resolving cases in pre-lit in this sort of record time. That's an unreasonable expectation when you're just getting started, right? So we're there now. We're doing great work and getting recoveries for people and we've right sized it. But in the beginning, it was really, really tough.
Yeah. So, from a case acquisition, what strategies are you taking to bring cases in the door on the personal injury side specifically?
Yeah, I've tried it all. It seems, right? Your Google's LSA and PPC get cases just very, very expensive, right? I've tried many of the third party providers, where you sort of sign up and they'll send you a lead all the way up to they'll sign a case for you and send that over. What we're doing right now, though, is some local connections we've built, right? There's a few of them. That's doing really, really well for us, as well as just remarketing to our own clients. We've represented about 35,000 people. Um, and over the last 10 years, got all their email addresses and phone numbers and home addresses and stuff. So we have been building a system that reminds those clients what we do. And that takes time. That's like the long game, but that's in my opinion how you win, right? That's how you win long term.
Yep. I mean, you might as well utilize those emails. You have them.
Exactly right. And they know us, and they like us, and we've got over 3,000 Google reviews. Like we've done great work for people in our local community over the last 10 years. And we are seeing, just the other day, had a guy call us like, "Hey, you represented me on a speeding ticket 2 years ago. I got hit last week." And I called you. I'm like, that we need more of that. That's exactly what we want to do. And
It's great.
yep, exactly. And he trusts us. He listens. I mean, he's the model client. It's exactly what we want.
Yeah, and that might feel free, but you earned that. You earned that trust. That's not a free thing. You acquired it at one point. So how do you monetize that same lead? That's really smart.
Yeah, that's fair. Yep.
Uh, so tell me a little bit about your case management system and how you like built out handling, your variety of practice areas. I'm sure that was difficult to navigate a brand new practice area when you built out your system so extensively in the past for another one.
Yep. So Salesforce, I'm a Salesforce guy through and through. Have been on Salesforce roughly about 8 of those 10 years. So the first 2 years we were kind of figuring out, trying your Clios and cobbling together spreadsheets and stuff. And then I'm like, I from day one have wanted to grow this business something bigger than me. I did not name it the Derek Martin Law Firm, right? So I invested in Salesforce when we had just 3 or 4, maybe 5 employees, which was way too early, way too big of a spend, messed it up 1,000 different ways. But now I'm glad that we did because now we have 4 full-time Salesforce developers. And so then when we spun up a new practice, personal injury, I did not need to go spend $120,000 on Litify or Filevine or whatever. We built an instance in Salesforce that I think rivals those. That's fortunate to be able to do that. Like that's 8 years of mess ups, right? To be able to then do that. So now I think we got a really, really cutting edge system built right alongside our criminal defense system.
So, a lot of people are talking about AI in the space. What are some things that you're trying to build if you're comfortable sharing those things?
Yeah, for sure. Happy to. So yes, I would say I just got asked this question the other day. I'm not in any casework. I'm not in any intake. I spend probably 70% of my time on AI related things these days. And I'm fortunate to be able to do that. I'll give you my theory. My theory is that not just law firms, but that plumbing business I've referenced and everything else will be the ones that will win are AI native, right? Whatever sort of buzzword you want to use. But what I mean by that is I think that they will be able to infuse AI in everything they do. And what I think that looks like to me is you've got your business, right? And you wrap that business really in two things. You wrap it in context, like the AI needs to know what's going on. Your org chart, your SOPs, right? So you got that's why like if you did sort of the non-AI stuff right, you built SOPs and everything for standard operating procedures for your business. You've got an org chart, you've got a workflows and everything documented, and you can feed that into AI, and you can even get crazy with the context. Our conversation here is being recorded. That transcript can go into every meeting you have, every Slack message you have, right? You can constantly be building onto that context layer. The law firm owner's goals, right? Where do I want to be? Do I want to sell my firm someday? Do I want to make it a lifestyle business? Like whatever those things are, you name it. And so you have to wrap that business in that context for AI to be able to actually leverage it. And then the second layer is your data. I mean, these days, your chat GPTs, your Claudes of the world can tie into your, should be able to tie into your case management system, your phone system, you name it, your QuickBooks, whatever it is you use. And now it can pull all that data. So you can literally marry those two things and then you get incredibly powerful. There we go. That's my push on where I think the business world is going with AI.
So I feel like specifically in the legal business world, there's sort of two major fears that lawyers have. Every lawyer, has been in a networking room where people talk about whatever lawyer quoted fake case law and got
Right.
reprimanded. So part
Yes.
one, so how do you prevent, looking like a moron in front of a judge?
Yes.
And then part two is how do you protect the identifying information of your clients? Because there's an argument that if Claude or GPT sees something in the wrong way, that you're breaching attorney-client privilege. So let's
Yeah.
start with the number two here. Let's
It,
start with
that one. All right.
protecting your client's information. What are some things that you think people should be considering if they're never really done anything in their case management with AI yet? They want to kind of start from scratch. What's something that they should do to protect themselves?
Yeah, right. So, obviously foundational. I agree with this, right? You need to be careful of this. The very basics that you've probably heard 1,000 times if you're in this at all is don't be using free AI, right? Like they will train on that. You have to have the paid plan. There are some settings you can do to at least CYA, right? You have told Claude, you've told OpenAI, do not train on my data. That's just like level one basics, right? And then number, and arguably, and we may disagree on this. I don't know that I have a strong stance on this because I'm not the world's foremost expert on it. But different people argue whether that's enough, right? Is that safe to say? You agree with
Yep.
that?
Yep.
But then certainly there are things you can do to anonymize it, right? Like there are third-party applications and things that you can do to change the information. So what you actually feed into
Yeah, you and I were texting about one
we
recently.
were exactly right. And so depending on where you stand on that, where your risk tolerance is, your level of sort of tech expertise and where you want to fall on that, there are certainly things you can do. I guess that's kind of my best answer. I don't know that I'm in the
Yep.
position to recommend something or whatever. But you should be thinking about this, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and the standard from the bar is a reasonable effort. It's
Reas-
not, to never use it because these tools, everybody is using them to a certain extent. A reasonable effort and an unreasonable effort is just going on to OpenAI and throwing, your client's medical records in a free account and having it
Yes,
create a summary.
right. You can do
A,
better.
A more reasonable layer one, which has some risk, is to copy your records into a paid account where you toggle don't share this,
Yep.
and then I'm on the side of I'm not sure that's enough.
Right.
But I won't judge if you feel that's enough.
Right.
Because it's
To
not
be
my
determined.
exactly.
But I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that firm that gets determined upon. I don't want to be
Exactly.
the test case.
Exactly. So, at the very least, there's also even other layers of protection, like is whatever you're putting out HIPAA protected? Is it
Yeah.
SOX compliant? There are other layers of security that are sort of above that,
Yep.
especially with things like medical information for our clients, social security
Yes.
numbers, very sensitive piece of information. What's reasonable? Reasonable is a subjective standard. I'm not going to tell you what you think is reasonable, but I don't know.
Uh, yep. Exactly. I'm not either. But HIPAA is there. I think any personal injury firm would have a really hard time being like, yeah, that medical record's HIPAA protected. I just didn't think to safeguard that. Like that's never going to fly, right? So, I mean, if you're doing it with your physical files and in your emails and in your digital storage, yeah, just extend that same thinking to what you're putting into AI. Yes.
So now we'll talk about sort of like the brief writing and legal
Yeah.
lawyer work side. How, if at all, are you leveraging AI for that side of your practice?
Yeah. We still use Nexus actually. I am not using AI to write briefs. Fortunately, on the criminal defense side, the DUI side, which is still the majority of our business, we're not writing a ton of briefs. I mean, like
Yep.
there's some motion practice, but it's DUIs. We know what they are, right? We're not using it a ton. So I haven't had to confront this exactly a ton, but we are absolutely just using our heads by not having Gemini write it and cite whatever it wants, right? Like
Yep.
just you've got to still be the human in the loop, right? You absolutely, and that's like everywhere you turn in every state, there are terrible examples of having Chat GPT just write your entire brief and literally make up cases.
Yep.
That's a bad look.
Yeah.
That's a
I,
bad
I
look.
yelled at ChatGPT yesterday for making stuff up. I was like, quit
Really?
making shit up, please.
Yes, exactly.
It's
Like,
like,
and
oh,
it's
my
like,
bad. I did make that up.
of course, it apologized to you, but then how do you, I mean, it has no real long-term memory,
Mhm.
right? ChatGPT does not have any real, that's getting solved. I think that's the next thing that's going to come is some really longer term memory. You sort of need that to do those layers and that business thing that I described a minute ago. But yes, do not, and I know you know this, Ethan, but even though you corrected ChatGPT, you come back 30 days later or new sessions, do not count on it remembering your
Correct.
correction.
So, for a lawyer on here, how are you using Claude compared to ChatGPT?
Yeah. So I am a Claude guy right now. I am using it primarily to Claude Code to develop things within our law firm. Let me give an example. First of all, develop components within our case management system, Lightning Web, LWCs, Lightning Web components. It's a specific little thing that you do that you can build. It's a widget that you can build in Salesforce. Not super, I'm not going to go into too much detail because it only applies to people on Salesforce, right? But like building that is incredible in the sense that like for 10 years, 8 years I've been on Salesforce. I've wanted to build, let me exit. I've wanted to build a shared email system where we have a shared email, it attaches to the case, that email attaches to the case automatically. It takes any attachments to an email and saves it into Salesforce automatically. All like just like stuff like that you can literally just vibe code and build, insert it into Salesforce, right? But it doesn't have to be Salesforce. Whatever your system is, you can build that dashboards, the live artifacts on Claude, you name it. There's a lot you can build. I geek out quick.
Yep. So, in terms of like protecting people to an extent, how does a person protect themselves from what's coming in the future with this technology?
Specifically, a law firm owner.
Um, let's start with the non-law firm owner. We'll start with,
Yeah,
anyone in the business. How do
yeah.
they protect themselves from being not needed anymore?
Right, exactly. So I tell my staff, so I push every one of my staff has a paid AI account that with policy that they can use it for this, they can't use their own free one for that, and whatever. So when pushing that and encourage, not only do I give them access, I tell them you must use it for these specific things, right? Because I am trying to push forward. And there's definitely been some rumblings and some fear that you're trying to, and that's their first joke that everyone goes to is you're trying to have AI replace me. And the line that I've said now for the better part of a year to my staff is AI will not replace you, but someone who knows how to use AI will. So get on board, right? Because it's true. If I have a lawyer that can be more, can you leverage AI in the right ways to be more effective, to get bigger settlements, to handle more cases, to reduce our time on desk, that lawyer will win versus the one who won't.
Correct.
Right. And so that is the big broad strokes is get on board. And there is no lack of knowledge these days. Like you can literally use the AI to learn the AI. You can go on, YouTube and you can learn it overnight. And so the ones that aren't, I know without a doubt, since there is no actual roadblock to learning it, it is all there at your fingertips. The ones that aren't are just not putting in the effort.
Yep.
And so that's the first thing. That's the first thing I would do. And then, the AI is. I'm not worried about lawyers. I'm not. Yes, there are probably some back end case management things that are going to get systematized enough. That is happening. But the lawyers, I don't see any
Still need
need.
to take depositions, still need to show
Yes,
up, got to go in front of a judge, whatever. Even if you're
exactly.
on AI while you're in front of the judge.
Yeah, right, exactly. And you have the opportunity, if you are a lawyer at my firm or any other firm, you have the opportunity to like lead that charge. There is the bar is really low to be to be using AI properly,
Yep.
right? Like it is really low. You could probably be in the top 10% in a weekend. You could definitely be in the top 1% in a month. It's just have you chosen to do that or not? Or are you still watching Netflix? I mean, those are the conversations I'm having with the lawyers in my firm. And not all are succeeding, so this is very uncomfortable for some of them. But I think it's not coming as a place of threat. I mean, I think this is true if they leave my firm and they go somewhere else. This is a universal truth.
Yep.
So I feel like whether they're here or they go somewhere else, I think I am helping them in their careers by pushing them on this topic.
So a person listening to this is unhappy in their role. They're thinking about going and starting their own firm. What's the advice you want to give them?
So I have always told the lawyers in my firm, if you want to go hang your own shingle, no problem. Go ahead. I will. There's probably cases I can give you. I'll help you out. I'll tell you all the mistakes I made. I feel like I've just always felt like there's enough business for everybody. I'm in Chicago there's probably 1,000 lawyers who would take a DUI in Chicagoland. So there's plenty. And so number one, I'd encourage you to do so. It's the best decision I ever made. And I genuinely mean that. In terms of encouraging somebody to go do that. I would build my law firm the way I said it. I would spend a lot of time wrapping it in what that context is, and then choosing vendors because you'll learn very quickly when you go out on your own that there are tons of vendors and they will hunt you down. You'll start getting cold phone calls from vendors about trying to sign up for this, that, and the other. And the filter I would use is do they have an MCP? How connected are they to these?
Yep.
How open will they
What's an
be to
MCP for
a?
those listening?
Yeah. So MCP is just it's basically an API essentially. For those, I think more people are familiar with the term API. An MCP is just one that can plug into Claude or
Yep.
Codex or whatever, and then so I can go if I wanted to, I can go through chat and say, find me how many leads did we create last week,
Yep.
last year, whatever, and then through the wires, right, the connected wires here, the MCP, uh, your AI system will go into your phone system, your case management system, whatever you've connected through MCPs, and just go pull that data, just like you would. You don't need to click and create reports anymore. You can just query chat, and it will give you that answer. Is that a decent explanation?
Yep. So
So
Derek, for somebody who's not in your area, maybe they're in Indiana or Michigan and they generate a Chicago car accident case, why should they refer a case over to you?
Yeah, I love this. I appreciate it. Well, number one is because I have built this firm from day one on doing the right things for the client. We make promises to our clients that they'll never go more than 2 weeks without hearing from us. That's a big one, the communication. I don't need to tell a bunch of lawyers about how important it is to communicate with your clients. We've, especially in PI, have hired 17-year veteran attorney to handle our cases. We're taking a lot of cases to trial. We are getting good results for our clients. That's first and foremost. We got about over 3,000 reviews on Google. So I mean, I think that speaks volumes. I mean, 3,000 is a lot of reviews in my opinion. And I just don't think you get that without building a good local reputation for doing the right thing by clients.
Nice. Anything else to leave people with?
No, man. Get out there and go learn it, man. I don't want to come from a place of fear, because I
You
don't think it's
should.
anything
People
to be
should be
afraid of.
scared if they're not learning this right now.
You think people should be scared if
I
they're
think
not
people
learning this?
should be scared if they're being ignorant. Yeah.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, but I don't want to come from a place of fear. I think I want to come from a place of like, this is an opportunity. I, you can be, and you don't have to be like a tech wizard. You can literally just learn that it's accumulated knowledge, right?
Yep.
The AI is never going to be as bad as it is today. It will only be better in the future. And so you should probably adopt that same mindset is I will constantly get better too. And it doesn't mean you got to be the world's foremost expert on it. It means you need to start figuring out ways to use it and gain an advantage over those who are not.
All right. Well, thanks, Derek, for joining the Growth Code. If you guys want to get in touch with Derek, I'll make sure to put his email in the description here. Hopefully, you guys got something out of this. I'll see you next time.
Appreciate it.